So today I'm going to be doing a review on this Acorns account that I've been utilizing for the last couple of weeks. Now, I actually want to help and support when it comes to utilizing Acorns. So on top of this review, if you are interested in actually learning all about how to functionally utilize Acorns, I'm going to have a link in the show notes down below. That's going to be our complete guide to utilizing this app. So let's go ahead and break this down. Let's talk a little bit about it and some of the features and benefits when it comes to using this, as well as maybe some of the cons as well. Now, one of the first things when it comes to Acorns itself, and the main reason I'm just kind of showing you on screen versus just talking about it, is I want you to be able to see this app in real time. Now, I just hit my view potential when it comes to this app, and this is probably one of my favorite things about the app. It's going to show you how big of an impact even a small amount of money is going to make into your account. Now, for our demo account here, we're actually putting in about $20 a week, give or take, as well as a little bit of a roundup feature, which we'll talk about here. And it's going to show you where it's projected to be able to have our money be by the age of 74. Now, again, this is a smaller amount, but that's going to be a large dollar amount that we're going to be earning, which is going to be nearly $250,000 just by putting in 20 bucks a week. Now, what's really cool and what I love about Acorns as a whole is that when you change the amount that you're depositing in, as well as maybe, what you're investing in, it actually is going to change the projections, which then gives you a really good insight as well. Now, also here, what I'm doing is toggling back and forth between the different ages so I can see, well, what am I going to be in about 10 years? I'm 34 right now, so we're looking about nearly $20,000 as a whole, which is still really, really great. And this might encourage me to say, well, what happens when I increase this amount? So this is, again, really, really cool. So for here, I'm going to show you, well, if I go to $30, all of a sudden I'm jumping up in 10 years to about $26 or 26,000. And if I double it up, you can see here, it jumps it up to 33,700 and so on and so forth. But again, this is really cool because this is just showing you how even a little bit of money over time is going to have a big impact. And again, keep that in mind. That's only for the next 10 years, but because of compounding interest, if we jump back up to 74 years, over $500,000 by jumping it up to $56 a week. Pretty awesome, right? So that's just a really cool feature for this, but just kind of going over the main basis of Acorns itself is how easy and simple this is for just the average person who doesn't want to learn about investing for the most part. And I mean like doesn't really care about investing into individual stocks, doesn't really want to learn about all the stock stuff. This is just, hey, I want to put my money away and I want to potentially earn some good returns on my money. Obviously, nothing is guaranteed when it comes to investing. So we just want to make sure that we're doing something that is going to be the easiest process for us. So in this account, we have about $186 in here. And it's currently just invested in the stock market where I don't have to sit there and worry about what it's currently invested in. So with Acorns, they do this thing where you pretty much tell them how much of a risk tolerance that you have, and it will pretty much do all the work for you and have it all invested. So all of these ETFs right here, which are effectively groups of companies put together, is how it works. So the top one right over here is large companies. So if I tap over here and I go into my About section, it kind of gives me an idea of what companies are being held in here. And these are top companies. So you could see companies like JP Morgan, you might know Google, Meta, Nvidia, Amazon. Like these are companies you definitely have heard of. So you're investing in some really high quality companies. There's a little bit more risk with some of the funds that I'm holding. And the reason for that is because of my risk tolerance. Now, what I can do is actually go ahead and change my risk tolerance, which will actually change how much I'm going to potentially earn as a whole. Now, again, because I have this a little bit more, what I would say aggressive and what they actually call aggressive, I'm actually having a higher chance to earn more on my money. Now, I can also go a little bit lower if maybe I have a shorter time horizon of when I want to pull this money out. But because I actually want to put this money in for a little bit of time, I'm willing to be more aggressive, which means during good times, it might go higher. During bad times, it might go lower. So what I'll do is actually show you right over here. So this is what they call the portfolio, and you'll see it kind of like as a pie here for you. So if you like tap in these different sections, it'll kind of break it down more. But what I'm going to do is actually show you the different ways you can invest. And again, if you don't want to care about what you're investing in necessarily as much as you want to know your risk tolerance, we're going to have this section right over here where we're going to go under risk. And then this is going to show us. So we're currently in aggressive. And so it means we're 100% in stocks. And if I actually swipe to the left, you're going to see this up here having moved to the left as well. Now, this is considered moderately aggressive. And you can see it's 20% in bonds, 80% in stocks. Bonds means it's typically less risky, still risk involved, but less risky. And then it's going to go ahead and kind of show you the percentages of what it's invested in here at the bottom. Again, if you don't necessarily care as much as about what it's really invested in, just kind of toggling through these, you're going to see how it's getting a little bit more conservative on here when it comes to your money. If you go all the way to the far left, it's going to be the highest conservative, which is going to be 100% bonds. And so this for us would be something where we wouldn't be earning nearly as much during the good times, but not lose as much as during the bad times if we were in a more aggressive fund. Now you can actually look at the overview, go into consideration right over here. You can see the risk is lower, but it's never zero, just something to consider. And then if we wanted to, we can keep swiping depending on how we see our risk tolerance. Again, because with our account, we want to be a little bit more aggressive or a lot aggressive, we're going to keep it in this section here for us. And that's one of my favorite reasons of using Acorns for somebody who doesn't really care about the overall investing side of things. They just want to put their money away and have it grow for them. Now, if by chance, after you start getting this money invested and you do start caring about wanting to do individual companies, you can, with the higher tiers, which we'll talk about here in a little bit, actually invest in individual stocks as well. So that option will be there for you. And again, I just continue to emphasize this, that if you're somebody who just doesn't really want to pay as much attention, I honestly think Acorns is going to be one of the best apps when it comes to actually getting your money in the stock market and just having it working for you long term without having to pay too much attention to it. It's a really good kind of set and forget type of app. You can also do it not just from your regular investing taxable account, but you could also even do it for your retirement account. And probably one of my favorite features is you can actually even do it for a custodial account. So if you have, I said that really fast, a custodial account. So if you have a kid, you can actually have an investment account for them as well. Now, here's the downside is that if you did want to have some of those other features, you do have to have a higher subscription. So there are 3 tiers for this. At minimum, the lowest one is going to be $3. Then there's a $5 tier, which is what we're on right now. And then there is the $9 tier. Now, as of pricing, of course, pricing can change over time. So just something to keep in mind. So you can toggle through the different tiers, which I'm doing right now, and you'll see all the different benefits. So if we go to the Premier, you'll see it's checked off everything, including the ability to do custodial as well as the retirement accounts is on top of that. Plus, if you wanted to do the banking with them, you do get the emergency fund with the Personal Plus as well as the Premier, which allows you to have money being earned on a higher interest. Now, here's a really important thing as well too. So for me, I think the fees might be considered high for some people when it comes to, paying $5 a month and then having only, a couple $100 in your account. Short term, that might be expensive. And I also think that if you're somebody who has a little bit of fear of investing for themselves, and this is kind of like a done for you process, I think paying that dollar amount is going to yield you better results than trying to possibly do something that you're not ready to do on your own at that point. So cost-wise, it might be a little bit higher for the short term, but I think long-term, getting into investing, if this is going to be the way to go, definitely go this route. Obviously, you can go with the cheapest route, which is $3, and that will be just kind of like the most basic version of the app, and it's still fantastic. I actually used that for my demo account for a couple of months until I needed to open up the banking account for some videos, and that allowed me to go and get additional features on here. And then again, if you go to the Premier, you're going to get all the features, including having the custodial account, which I think is amazing and definitely something I would do if I had the opportunity to open up a checking account for a child. Okay, so we're back here on the main account, and some of the other really nice features as well too is if you do have just the regular investing account, you'll see it right over here. If you have your retirement account, they call it the later account, you'll have it here as well. And then if you do end up having the checking and the savings account as well, you'll see them right here. Now, as of this recording, the checking account actually gets you a nice APY, which is about 3%. And then the emergency fund, which you need the higher tiers for, actually gets you up to 5% as of this recording for your APY. So if you just have money sitting around and you want to earn a little bit higher interest, that's going to be the way to go. And it's kind of encompassing everything into one, which is a really great way to go. Now, some of the other great features with this as well too is you can go into the earnings tabs, which was down here at the bottom right. And this is going to be one of those things where if you go and do certain purchases at certain places and you kind of go through their app here, or if you have the debit card and use it with the debit card, you will get money putting into your investments, which is a really nice thing to do. Now, obviously, if you're just overspending, that might be something to consider. But if you're already going to be saying, hey, I'm using Instacart might as well get, a $2 investment. That's going to be great. Or if you're going to be buying something from Apple, might as well get that 1.5% invested into your overall account. Now, it's not investing into that company in particular. It is just investing into your overall account. So something to keep in mind. Of course, there's going to be exclusions and different information you want to go through when going through this process and getting that promotional value back into your account. They also do have a learning tab, which I'm a huge fan of. Anytime you can learn more about investing, like I said, if you're just getting started, this is going to be such a great way to go. Whether you want to continue using this app once you start learning more about stocks and wanting to do individual, again, you can do that here with this company, or you can end up switching over to a different brokerage. But here they give you a bunch of different ways to keep learning. They have like courses that you can go through, all free, included with your membership. And then you can see up here, you can see the different styles, whether it's savings, whether it's earning, family, all of these different ways that you can go through and just continue to educate yourself in this process. So I'm a big fan of that, especially when it's directly in the app. It entices you to want to keep on growing and understanding your money. All right, so I went back into our investing section here, and I just want to quickly talk about the roundup feature. Now, the roundup feature is really great. This is essentially anytime you use your debit card, whether it's the Acorns debit card, if you're using their checking, or if it's your own direct checking, what it does is it'll round up your total amounts, and then it'll pull that money as a whole into Acorns and into your investments. So what I mean by that is, like you can see here, our water bill was $61.44. So if you round that up to $62, that's 56 cents that Acorns pulled from our account to be able to put it into our investment. So it's small amounts that make a big impact. And that's honestly one of the things I really love. Anything you can do to make it easier on yourself to have money being invested without you even noticing, for the most part, is such a big win for individuals, because that's going to make an impact long-term for you. Now, the way that it's set up here, it waits until it hits at least $5 worth of quote unquote roundup to then pull from our account. If you have the Acorns checking account, that'll actually just do it instantaneously for you. So it's actually money going into your investments even faster for you. So you can see our roundup here was an extra $35.93. And it just didn't really feel like that much more that was pulled from our account to be able to add into this investment. Now, we talked about earlier that when we go in and do our, deposits on reoccurring, that's great. We could also do one-time deposits as well. So we can just have money dropped in. So if we got like a nice bonus, or we just really want to add more money in, because the sooner we put money in, the better. It's going to be great. The only downside is it is a $5 minimum. So we do need to make sure that we're putting in at least $5 to do the transfer. So you can't do anything less than that. It won't let you go through that process. Not the biggest bummer in the world, but just something to consider when it comes to being able to do a little bit more when you have the opportunity to do so. Now, as far as withdrawing, the way that's going to work here for you is it's going to ask if you did want to pause for any means. Maybe instead of having money being pulled, it's just not investing for a little bit. But if you just want to go ahead and withdraw, you can continue on that. It'll just pull money from your account. If you try to pull all of it out, it will ask you if you want to completely close your account. So just something to keep in mind on there. Again, minimum for this as well will be that $5. Now, there is a section here in the investing tab as well that actually shows us how much we're actually investing in the last 30 days, which I really like. You can see here, it was $97.72, and that 30 days roundup was about $17.72, reoccurring was about $80, and if we did any one times, any dividends, in case you don't know, that's when companies or funds that you're holding money in actually pay you out. With this account, this will actually just get automatically reinvested. So you'll see that showing up here. Now, this account for our demo had only been started a couple months ago, so we hadn't had enough time for those dividends to start getting paid out. And once they do, it'll just show up in here and get reinvested back into our account. Anything that you earn from those rewards, as well as any referrals. So if you want to refer friends and family, you can definitely do that and get some nice bonuses that can go right into your investment and just continue to make big impact. So as somebody like myself who actually runs a YouTube channel talking about financial apps and services to help people go through this process, I think Acorns honestly is going to be one of the best starting out apps for investing for somebody who's just getting started, maybe doesn't even really want to continue to learn a lot about the stock market, because it's just really like a set and forget type of mentality for it. And I'm totally here for it if it means just getting money in and starting that process to invest for the long term. So for me, that's going to be the best way to go. I mentioned earlier too, I'm going to have a link in the show notes down below, which is going to take you to my complete guide. So if you want to see pretty much how to have everything set up for yourself for success when it comes to using Acorns, I'll have that right there in the show notes for you. Now, I'll also have the Acorns link to sign up for the account in the show notes down below. That does give you a $20 bonus instead of the typical $5. So you get a nice startup for your account. That does help support out our channel so we make more free content just like this for you. Now, speaking of free content, I'm going to go ahead and post up our complete guide to utilizing Acorns from A to Z so you can actually go ahead and get started with utilizing your investing account.